This is why nobody should ever identify with the Republicans. They will literally just lie. Like, no matter how bad you think the Democrats are on any issue, they will never lie like the Republicans are lying right now about the Obama administration. Biden didn't go far enough with his pardons. He should have pardoned the entire Obama administration, apparently. He should have pardoned everyone on Kash Patel's deep state list, his enemies of the state list that he got confirmed for his position in spite of. It's absurd. And I'll just break down what Jesse Watters is going to talk about right here. It's all completely false.
By a sitting president, Barack Obama, and his intel agencies to sabotage the president-elect, Donald Trump, brainwash the electorate, and undermine the legitimacy of an election.
Undermine the legitimacy of which election? Of the 2016 election? Because all that came after he was elected. The public had zero idea about Crossfire Hurricane until 2017. They didn't even know the name until 2018. The intelligence reports up until that point were that, yes, Russia did involve itself in hacking operations, but they did not get to machines that tally votes. They did not impact the election in that way. And there was no final conclusive report until the 2017 ICA about anything else that they did or any kind of favorability in the election. Now, Jesse Watters is also going to go after the 2017 ICA, which is obviously after Trump was elected, for reasons that are completely BS, totally false.
There is irrefutable evidence that detail how President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence community assessment that they knew was false. They knew it would promote this contrived narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help President Trump win, selling it to the American people as though it were true.
There was never any intelligence findings that ever contradicted that, ever. The 2016 public daily brief that was thrown out did not mention at all whether Putin favored Trump or didn't favor Trump. That was not the point of the brief. The point of the brief was to say that the Russians had no intent or capability to compromise how we tally votes. That was this narrow point of that brief, and why Obama and the FBI objected to it was because they were receiving new intelligence that just showed how incomplete that narrow of a public daily brief, presidential daily brief would be, right? That would just be focusing on the fact that Russians didn't directly change our votes, when the more important thing to focus on here is how they did impact our election, right? That's far more important. The FBI also, they objected to some language. They thought it was too strong, too conclusive at the time. And the report said nothing about Putin's intentions, of course, which made it incomplete, which is why they wanted the 2017 one. It was much, much better, right? But it still kept the same conclusion. That the Russians did not get to election infrastructure. They did compromise databases, but they did not change votes. This is the important thing here. That's consistent among all the reports. So nothing is hidden, nothing is suppressed.
It wasn't.
Gabbard got her hands on a House intel report that's been locked away in a CIA vault for almost a decade. Investigators spent over 2,000 hours looking into how the Russia hoax was born, interviewing 20 CIA and FBI officials. And it turns out that the Obama administration doctored the intelligence to make it look like Putin and Trump stole the election. A month after Trump...
No, that's what the DNI says. That's what the current director of national intelligence says. That's what her reports say. But the tradecraft standards for the ICA report was corroborated by all the people who looked over it. Michael Horowitz, Robert Mueller, right, John Durham, the Senate Intelligence Committee in 2020. That was led by a Republican, Marco Rubio. Are these people all part of the deep state who said that this was gold standard intelligence? Right? Durham said there may have been some CIA bias, but that was just because of the politics of the CIA. And he can't prove in any way how that bias would have made its way to intelligence. So stop with this whole doctored intelligence thing. Give me the intelligence that was doctored. What part of the 2017 ICA was false? I'm waiting. He will never say that. He's just going to say these vague things that are not true.
Beat Hillary, Barack Obama wasn't satisfied with his intelligence reporting and ordered his CIA director to create a new assessment of how Russia interfered with the election. This was a
less narrow assessment. It included the same narrow findings of the 2016 brief, but it expanded upon it. It kept the same finding that Russia did not change the votes. That was the only thing the 2016 brief said. And the 2017 thing, ICA said the exact same thing, but it included so much more. It was just a better intelligence report. That's why the FBI and Obama hated it, because it would make it seem like like saying such a narrow, negative messaging about how Russians didn't do this very extreme thing. Well, that's ignoring all the things that they did do, and it's bad messaging.
Highly unusual move. John Brennan handpicked 5 CIA analysts to write the assessment, and they were siloed. None of them knew what the other was doing. And only one analyst was in charge of drafting this report. There was nothing routine about this, and it was a rush job to publish before Trump was sworn in. Nothing was coordinated with the other intelligence agencies either. Basically, this was home cooking for Barack Obama.
What is he talking about? They all had to agree to this. Like, any agency can dissent at any time. They all have their different levels of confidence. Everything he's saying here is literally a lie. Like, he talks about, like, just random stuff, like the siloing and the independence. Like, does he really think that any of this is evidence? Like, find me better evidence. Rather than talking about intelligence methodology that you know nothing about. And frankly, I know nothing about. Right? I trust the multiple people, Republicans, Durham, Mueller, Horowitz, the Senate Intelligence Committee, that said that the tradecraft here was perfect.
Obama. There were 4 key elements from the assessment that were repeated over and over again and formed the basis of the Russia hoax and the Robert Mueller witch hunt. 1, that Vladimir Putin wanted Donald Trump to win. 2, Putin took action to help Trump win.
Yes, in 2018, Putin said directly he favored Trump in the election. He wanted Trump to win. He had the Russian military intelligence had had a front on Twitter called Guccifer 2.0. It was an explicitly pro-Trump personality on Twitter. It was a front claiming to be a Romanian hacker, communicated with Trump officials such as Roger Stone, and explicitly endorsed Trump. This is a Russian asset front explicitly endorsing Trump. Find the same thing for Hillary Clinton, right? Explicitly endorsing Trump. The troll farms that they had attacked Hillary Clinton from both the left and the right. They had supporters of Jill Stein, Bernie Sanders on the left attacking Hillary Clinton. They had supporters of Trump attacking Hillary Clinton. They had nothing supporting Hillary Clinton, right? All the emails they hacked, the Podesta emails, the DNC emails, they were every single one of them was meant to damage Hillary Clinton. And I read some of Tulsi Gabbard's reporting on this, and she tries to make the claim that because some of the emails included Democrats trashing Trump, that, oh, they're trashing Trump, why would they reveal emails that trash Trump? And it's like, these are Democrats. Democrats trashing Trump is not a new thing. This is not defaming Trump. And the whole thing about them holding off Hillary's emails that they had about her health, not releasing that, it's because they didn't want to spend everything that they had on this election stuff, right? They only did the DNC emails and the Podesta emails because they felt that it couldn't be valuable blackmail after the election, but Hillary's health could be valuable blackmail, right? So they kept that around. So saying that they could have released that just because they wanted them to win the election at all costs is like not. It's assuming the Russians are stupid, right? They're not going to throw everything they have at the election, right? They're going to put a moderate thumb on the scale to hope Trump wins, but they still thought Hillary would win, so they wanted to keep around some hedge for if their expected scenario came true.
3, the Russians had blackmail on Trump. That was the Steele dossier. And 4, that the Russians tried colluding with the Trump campaign. None of any of this was ever true.
I would say that the Trump campaign tried colluding with the Russians, not the other way around. The Russians did not want much to do with the Trump campaign, right? We had the meeting in Trump Tower between the Russian nationals and people like Manafort and Donald Trump Jr. They promised, citing their government's support for Trump. This is their exact words. They promised that they would give dirt on Hillary Clinton, right? And in the meeting, they could not find that. They did not give that dirt. It just turned into like a kind of bargaining session to get rid of sanctions. So they kind of lied about that. But Donald Jr. was clearly open to colluding with Russia. Stone was clearly open to colluding with Russia. He tried to reach out through Jeremy Corsi to Julian Assange to get the remaining hacked emails that he knew were hacked by the Russians. because he wanted to obtain the illegally obtained information to use it himself, de facto colluding with the Russian hackers. Like, I don't think that they wanted to collude directly with each other, but they wanted the outcome of colluding with each other. At least the Trump administration did. The Russians wanted nothing to do with it, to be honest. Russian military intelligence front, Guccifer 2.0, didn't really entertain Roger Stone that much. Like, he was, their conversations weren't like the GRU just begging Roger Stone to collude with him, right? It was more of just a kind of side by side, just like communications type thing, where no new information was really brought out.
There was no reliable intelligence to support any of these allegations. Senior CIA...
Everything I just said. Talk about the emails, talk about the troll farms, talk about the GRU Twitter front in Guccifer 2.0, talk about any of that stuff. Talk about Julian Assange releasing those hack emails. Talk about the actions of the Trump campaign. Talk about Papadopoulos in May of 2017 bragging to an Australian diplomat in London about all of the dirt that a Russian national told him that they had on Hillary Clinton in the form of tens of thousands of illegally obtained emails. Right? That started Operation Crossfire Hurricane. Talk about that.
Officials repeatedly refused to traffic in these allegations, but they were repeatedly overruled by CIA Director Brennan and FBI Director Comey, who insisted that they be pushed, even without verifiable evidence. The Obama administration cherry-picked the intelligence, lied about their sources, misquoted sources, didn't corroborate their claims, suppressed intelligence that ran counter to their narratives, and even used a...
I mean, this is just tradecraft bias stuff. If you have a tradecraft claim, then please make it in a more coherent way. Because so many people before Jesse Waters, have said that this is good intelligence. Jesse Waters can't just go on his Fox News segment and say this was bad intelligence, right? Saying misquote, well, a misquote to one person is an accurate quote to another person. Right? Maybe the alternate quote was not reliable. Maybe it was not relevant. I mean, there's so much subjectivity here.
Anonymous internet postings. Rank and file CIA admitted what they were doing violated their own tradecraft standards. There was a massive pressure campaign that came right from the top. CIA...
That's probably just CIA people saying that there was some bias in CIA operations, because we know that they were heavily anti-Trump. Like, who wouldn't be? So you can interpret that as not meeting tradecraft standards, but I would say that's the minutia. Of course there's going to be some bias, and of course it was probably biased against Trump, but not enough to affect the quality of the intelligence in any way.
Analysts say they received unusual directives from political appointees, the CIA director, and Obama himself. This is how the Russia hoax was born.
Rent a car from our newest fleet yet. Your real car never has to know. Save time creating content and generate a high quality.
Donald Trump knows that the Russians helped him win in 2016.
Putin hated Secretary Clinton so much that the flip side of that coin was he had a clear preference for the person running against the person he hated so much.
It was Russia, in a very systematic way, tried to interfere in the election and to try to advance the prospects of Donald Trump being elected.
This was such a malicious disinformation campaign perpetrated on the American people that at one point, 60% of Democrats believed the Russians hacked our voting machines to help Trump win the White House.
What percent of Republicans believe that the voting machines in 2020 were rigged against Trump? Right? That was Trump spent every single rally saying that stuff. Talk about a disinformation campaign. Talk about a president knowingly lying, changing his lies day by day about dead voters voting, about crossing state lines to vote, about Dominion voting machines, like costing Fox News $1 billion in their propaganda in his favor, about their objective lies, about voter fraud that never existed, about threatening to fire your entire DOJ over voter fraud that never existed. So don't talk to me about misinformation campaigns here. Like, your president had the biggest misinformation campaign of all time in American history of an American president, and he used it to try to overthrow the government. He literally used it as justification for Mike Pence to break our core statutory laws that surround our elections, like the Electoral Count Act.
This report actually shows is that the Russians just wanted to create chaos and undermine America.
All right, show me one point where they did anything to undermine Trump. Literally 1 point. I like, seriously. I found a pseudo example that I already talked about in Tulsi's reporting, that because some of the emails talked meanly about Trump, it shows that the Russians didn't care. Like, Democrats talking meanly about Trump is not a big deal. And some of them were even like old Bush officials, I think. But it's like, is that all you have? This is your tradecraft standards? Alright, I'll end it here. I gotta go.